This video is sponsored by Deep Cut Studios. For a wide range of fantastic gaming resources such as battle mats, dice trays and pre-painted bases, check out the description below.
My friend, what do you know about pigs? And no, I don't mean the domesticated pigs of good old Earth. Unlike them who are quite happy in their ignorance as they are fattened up for the slaughter, the pigs of Malifaux are hardened killing machines. Strong, tough, and with hair-trigger tempers. Even the tiniest piglet will rip your face off if you're not careful. Despite their hostile nature, gremlins make great use of these beasts. Whether trying to subdue wild boars out in the wilderness, or raising the pigs like humans do on Earth, they not only eat them, but also train them to fight. Of course, doing this is rather difficult, and gremlins find themselves rather prone to ending up in a pig's gullet if they ain't careful. But there is one gremlin who seems to have a gift when it comes to these pigs. Ulix Turner. Now, when most people first look upon Ulix, they tend to see him as a simple, lame-legged and ornery hermit. A gremlin who would rather raise his pigs than deal with the politics of gremlin life. But anyone who knows him will tell you that no one raises pigs better than him. He is able to understand their moods to an almost supernatural degree, and always seems to know the right way to nurture any pig's growth, to make them the best hog they can be. It's because of this gift that he finds many gremlins coming to his door, some wishing to learn his ways and become hog whisperers themselves. Others simply wanting to be hired on as slop haulers, who can grab a bit of the pig's slop to snack on as they do their job. But most come to him looking for war pigs, mean monsters that will give that gremlin an edge if they ever need some extra muscle. And if they are persuasive enough, they might even snag a squealer, a particularly loud breed of war pig, capable of blasting a gremlin off its feet with a large, booming squeal. That all said, not all of Ulix's pigs are up for sale. There are a few he considers family, and will often be found by his side. There's Old Major, the biggest, strongest, and toughest hog in all of the Bayou, with an appetite to match. Known to eat folks whole when he's fighting, or walking, or relaxing. Honestly, he just likes to eat folks whenever he can. Clanking along, you can find Gracie, another large pig that is covered in pans, cups, teapots, utensils, plates, and anything else that will fit over her rather bulbous form. Don't let her size fool you though. A hit from her, especially with all that metal surrounding her, packs quite a punch. As for the sow, I suggest you stay as far away from her as possible. She is a huge three-headed pig with a real mean streak, who also seems to be constantly pregnant, even spewing out piglets while she is in the middle of a fight, which tends to be more distracting for the enemy than the sow, as the piglets that come out immediately aim to rip apart the fool who would dare attack their mama. And finally we have Penelope, Ulix Turner's right-hand pig, the glossy hog always seeming to know what Ulix is thinking, and often acting as his faithful shepherd pig, keeping the other hogs in line, and in making sure they follow their master's orders. Now, as I said, Ulix is a hermit, but that doesn't mean he's ignorant to the growing troubles in Malifaux. Many a gremlin has seen that his hogs have started getting bigger, tougher, and meaner, and he seems to be more than willing to lend them out to gremlins in need. But this doesn't feel like charity, because although Ulix isn't book smart, he is cunning, and I can't help but feel he has some sort of plan in store. If he does, only the pigs would know what that plan would be, and they ain't squealing.
Hi guys, and welcome back to our Malifaux Masters Breakdown, where we showcase the factions and personalities vying for soul stones and dominance within the Broken City. Today's episode focuses on the Bayou Master Ulix, the pint-sized purveyor of pigs who poignantly provides the pork, and if you haven't guessed yet, this is a Chris script. The Sooey keyword focuses on speed and hitting power. Most of the pigs have the reckless quick action, which lets them gain the fast condition for the cost of a point of damage. Along with this, they have the front of card ability Stampede, which lets them deal damage to models that they charge into for the cost of another point of damage to themselves. As you'd expect, you'll be losing pigs pretty quickly due to the amount of damage that you're doing to yourself, not only your opponents. Don't fear though, there's a multitude of ways to replace them in the crew, providing you with a constant string of little sausages ready to serve. Finally, all of the pigs have demise abilities, meaning that they're not dying in vain, the main one being delicious bacon, which allows you to drop a scheme marker when you die instead of a corpse marker. And this is great because as well as helping you score your schemes, these provide fuel for the bacon engine to keep churning out future piggies in later turns as well. Ulix is the head of the pork procession, great one Chris, firing his pigs off into the distance like mini missiles. His main focus early on is to make his pigs grow up strong. Now this tactical action lets you replace a pig with a bigger pig along with some healing and a bit of movement. So all those little piglets running around can be quite threatening as they grow up. With the tome trigger, you could also take the Herdem action, targeting the new pig, which lets it immediately take an action, which is often to charge it further up the field or simply focus ready for its own actions. Proper care heals all friendly beasts in a 2-inch pulse for 2 wounds, meaning that he'll always want to be near his precious pigs to protect them, and they will return the favour with Protected Beast, meaning that they can take attacks for him if he gets targeted. Lastly, Ulix is quite slow, as you'd expect from a peg-legged old gremlin, but he has the Hitch a Ride ability, which lets him jump all over the board, tagging along to any beast that starts a walk nearby. An LP is Ulix's totem and is his best doggo. She also has the Herdem ability with a trigger that lets her reposition for free with a built-in mask if she targets a pig. Her best feature though is the Kept at Distance ability on the front of her card, which lets pigs that activate within 6 inches of her gain +1 movement for their entire activation, giving them a much bigger threat range. At Ulix's side are 2 great henchmen, the first one being Old Major. This is the gnarly old pig that bosses around all the other little piggies. Go Hog Wild means that any pigs that activate nearby gain a built-in ram to all duels and plus to all damage flips for the whole of their activation. Now this is huge as pigs often have to declare a trigger as part of their attack wording, and the ram is usually the safer of the options available to them. Old Major can also nudge them on, pushing pigs around and giving them some extra suits as required. If needs be, he can also jump into the fray with his Savage Bite attack having an impressive 3-4-5 damage track and hard to wound on the front of his card, meaning he can stay alive for longer. Next up is the new girl Bo Peep, the pig jockey from the Bayou Bash starter set. She's a speedy beater that can move around and through other models as needed with Trample. Her race is on, tactical action pushes her and all friendlies within 3 inches up to 3 inches in any direction, helping you unpack in those early turns, especially when the board is tight. Its built-in crow trigger means that she can also get a bit of extra movement out of it for herself. Her barbed whip attack has a lovely 2-inch reach and receives a positive to hit if the target is below half health. The damage track isn't much at 223, but both triggers provide some more movement shenanigans, and ramming speed on the front of her card makes sure that you're hitting these triggers when you need them. Next up we have some enforcers, and you've got 2 lovely ladies to choose from. We've got Gracie first, who's an absolute tank of a pig that we've discussed before, with 2 armor and hard to kill, keeping her alive. She has some self-healing with Eat Your Fill, restoring 2 wounds when you kill an enemy, and her attack action must declare triggers, which has a nice 2-4-5 damage track, and if she starts near the Old Major though, you can ramp it up to 3-5-6 with a positive to damage, or even higher if you have a high ram. Alternatively, you could tear off a bite and heal her back up if you need to, if her health and armor isn't doing it for you. Just try not to let her lie down and nap unless you wanted to end her activation quickly. Gracie has a choice of 2 quick actions, Reckless for that extra AP, or Ride with Me, letting you taxi another model around the board. Then there's the Sow, a legitimately terrifying 3-headed pig that's perpetually pregnant, purposely providing a procession of piglets for Papa Ulix to process. You know, I've only had 3 hours sleep with a new baby, but I'll keep going. Birth lets the Sow summon Piglet for 6 of crows, and she can remove a nearby corpse or scheme marker to add that crow for free. She also has Reckless, that's a potential 3 piglets per turn that she's popping out, and when she's had enough of her babies, don't be afraid to throw her at the enemy too. Once you've got enough piglets out, Terrifying and Hard to Wound will keep her alive for a long time, as well as the Grit Frantic ability, which will make her more deadly as she takes more damage. Lastly, we have the minions. We're going to go from smallest to largest with these, as they tend to share a lot of the same abilities such as Reckless and Stampede that we mentioned earlier. The smallest is the Humble Piglet. These tiny terrors are mindless when summoned, meaning that they can't activate, but they're mainly there to grow up into something bigger. With that Reckless and Stampede though, they can still put out a surprising amount of damage. Just run them into where you need to, attack, drop that scheme marker with some delicious bacon, and they've served their purpose. Next up though, you have Squealers, who provide a bit more of a range in an otherwise melee-focused crew. The projected voice attack has a decent 10 inches to it and targets willpower, which is interesting, and it can also put out distracted if you have the crow in hand. These masked menaces can also pulse out healing with a Song of Night and Day, but just be aware that you'll be healing the enemy too if they're in range, so measure it carefully. Onto Wild Boars, and we have some speedy Move 6 unimpeded models that ignore severe terrain. These are great at running around the flanks to scheme, and their Tusk melee attack actually has some fantastic triggers like Armor Piercing to ignore armor or Rampage for extra movement, meaning they're really good anti-schemers as well. Next up we have the pig that all the little piggies aspire to be in the mighty War Pig, another Move 6 model that also has Deadly Pursuit for some extra end of turn movement. Their melee attack is an amazing 346 damage track with the trigger on every single suit. You can use Old Major to nudge them with a ram and activate them near him, and Penelope for an impressive 21-inch threat range. Yep, 21, just normal pig things. Next up we have a new addition to the pig family, which Chris has lovingly written here are due to the totally not cowards that are weird. We have the Swine Cursed. These are horrendous. They're tanky were-pigs that have the ability to gain glowy tokens to reduce damage or make their own attack irreducible, which is amazing. The heroic intervention action lets you pull models out of a dangerous situation and take a swing at the enemy with the built-in I'm no coward trigger, which gives them a bit of shielded for protection. Don't forget, these guys can hit really hard and really fast, so chuck them into the main targets in your opponent's forces. So that's the pigs, but we can't forget there are a couple of gremlins that tag along too, the first of which being the Hog Whisperer, who has the amazing Tools for the Job ability to help keep those good cards in hand when you've been using them early in a turn. And that'll help you ensure that you get the Herdum action off, which they also possess, as well as their quick action Hear Pig, which lets them summon a piglet for a 5 of rams if there's a scheme or corpse marker nearby. Finally, there's the Slop Haulers, who are the healers of the crew, so you'll definitely want 1 or 2 of these. Feed the Piggies pulses out healing to hit everything within 3 inches and does extra healing on pigs, so you can pull them out of trouble if needed. And they can also use Hear Pig to summon a piglet, just as we mentioned before, but you need a slightly higher 6 of rams. Overall, the Sooey keyword excels at tying up the enemy with disposable models while the rest of the crew gets on with whatever it needs to. Ulix is able to swarm the field with hard-hitting distractions that upend your opponent's game plan while you can focus on your own. Scheme pools that require you to spread out are ideal, as you can pin in the enemy with some big base beaters while the little piggies run around doing all the work in the backfield. Objectives that encourage targeted damage also place the advantage of Ulix's forces, where priority targets are easy to pin down and focus fire. Just be aware of your own positioning, as it's very easy to block yourself in with all those big bases, so an awareness of terrain and board state is important at all times. The crew also have a lot of TNs in their action, so if your deck's not on your side, you're going to have to be cheating a lot, so just be aware of any execute triggers on the other side of the board. However, if you find yourself opposite the Sooey keyword, then fear not, there are steps you can take to limit the oncoming bacon press. Firstly, mobility and repositions can quickly avoid incoming damage if you hire in models with pushes or placements that can manipulate scrums as they appear. Secondly, hazardous terrain or damaging conditions can make the attacks of the pigs even more costly to their HP totals, especially if you add in stunned and distracted to limit the success and impact of their attacks. Finally, as you might expect, range control can severely hamper the Sooey crew. Killing them early or at the very least slowing their advance with markers and terrain, with certain masters able to effectively completely block charge lanes with big base beasties using their own tokens and positioning markers. Finally, here's an example of a Sooey list if you're really wanting to bring home the bacon. The list starts small but will quickly grow once you pop out some piglets. Squealer is there to turn into a War Pig turn 1 and for a 12 of any suits, while the sow keeps birthing babies while you grow. Gracie and Old Major can easily hold an area with a Slop Hauler nearby to keep them topped up on their HP. And lastly, the Lucky Effigy is in the list with their Aura of Luck quick action, which gives you an extra chance to hit those TNs, and from turn 3 it transforms into a heck of a scheme runner. Just have fun firing pigs at your enemies and don't be afraid to let little ones die, you could always make more and grow them up big and strong. So that brings us to the end of this Malifaux Master breakdown. We hope it's been useful in giving you a snapshot of the crew and its mechanics. A massive thank you to the vocal talents of the wonderful Arvandus during the video's intro. You can find more of his excellent lore content in the links in the description below. For more talk about Malifaux and its masters, why not check out our podcast The Harlefaux Show, where we break down each keyword and why you should play it. Alternatively, we have a wealth of beginner-friendly battle reports here on the channel that guide players through every flip and decision. Whichever you choose, we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, folks.
Hi guys, and thank you so much for watching our videos. It means the world to us. If you want to see some more, they should be over here. And if you want to support this channel, keep these lights on. You can find links to our Patreon and merchandise in the description below. Take care.